I want to thank everyone for coming and for agreeing to run, too. That's wonderful. And we'll start at the end, and then, let me just get my little sheet here. And then each time we will move down. So we'll start with Elizabeth with an opening statement. And we have to share one of the microphones, but I ask you to please speak into it because we are videotaping this, and Anselm is doing live streaming. And I do want to mention that for those of you whose friends did not come tonight because of the middle school event, I believe that the League of Women Voters and I think the PTAs are having another forum. Yes.
LWV Maplewood South Orange and the President's Council will be having a forum on October 13th.
Okay, October 13th. So if your friends couldn't come tonight, then I hope you'll let them know. Thanks. Okay, so on with the show, and let's start with Elizabeth. Thank you.
Can everyone hear me? Thank you to the Hilton Neighborhood Association, and thanks to all of you for coming out tonight and giving us an opportunity to meet one another and to discuss the important issues facing our school district. My name is Elizabeth Baker. I'm running for the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education to help our schools realize their promise and to help our district keep its promises to our children and the families of this district. As a member of the Board of Education, I want to make sure that the goals we adopt at Academy Street are realized in each and every classroom for every child. My older daughter is now in 7th grade at Maplewood Middle, and my younger daughter is in 4th grade at Tuscan. My children have had some great experiences in our district and great teachers who really got them, who've nurtured them and challenged them. But as a parent, I've also seen the obstacles that stand in the way of great teaching and creating the great, vibrant learning environments that we want for our children. We have struggled with consistency from school to school and even classroom to classroom. Despite our goals, many students and families still experience a culture of low expectations. Student success and great learning are also undermined by a lack of clear information and poor communication. Sometimes it seems as if it can take 20 calls or emails just to get basic information about your child's school. And too often, our district and schools don't listen to feedback until issues boil over at the public speaks of a Board of Education meeting. We can and must do better for our children. The search for a new superintendent provides us not just with the challenge of choosing the right leader for our district, but an opportunity to examine what is working here, where we can do better, and to begin listening to one another as we move forward. In both my professional life as an advocate for working people and in my volunteer work here in this district, I've taken on challenges, not just calling for change, but working with others, listening, mapping out strategy, and making change happen. These are the skills and the commitment that I wish to bring to the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's move on to Maureen.
Can everyone hear me? Good evening, everyone. My name is Maureen Jones. Thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you to the Hilton Association for allowing us to participate. I know what it's like to struggle, and I also know what it's like to be an outsider. My family emigrated from Haiti to the United States when I was 7 years old. I vividly remember what it was like sitting in a classroom, not understanding the language, and having to watch other students for cues to figure out what was going on. But I also remember teachers who engaged and supported me so that I could be successful in the classroom. I ended up flourishing in school with the help of great teachers and decided to become a speech language pathologist to help others. I've been fortunate to work in many districts and observe different approaches in which schools are organized. I am running because we need to make sure every child gets whatever help they need and experiences rigor, challenge, and opportunity. Finding the right way in our district, not just for ELL students and English language learners or special needs students, but for all students in everything we do require a superintendent and board who are able to translate educational vision into effective delivery of programs and services. Good things are happening in the district, but we know that we can also do better. We must enable children to succeed by having consistently high expectations for them. We must enable families to succeed by providing them with clear and consistent guidance on how to navigate the system. We must enable teachers to succeed by giving them the support and mentoring required to master the new approaches of IB and the Common Core. And we must be patient. We must get all teachers to look at each child as an individual and understand what it takes to engage them and challenge them in everything that they do.
Thank you. Godwin?
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Godwin Maloko.
Talk into the microphone, please.
Can you hear me? Hello? Yeah. My name is Dr. Godwin Maloko. I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you for coming. I'm a father of 4, former school teacher and a practicing physician in the area. Let's go back to when I was a school teacher. I've been in this country for 36 years and put myself through school with my brother's help, and then became a school teacher in the late 80s. I was one of the few teachers in public school system, teach in New York, teaching with master's degree. I've noticed a lot of changes that take place in our school system. Going back to even when I was a school teacher myself, things has gotten better. Teachers, they got more tools to do their job. I recall being a teacher that I had to buy material for my kids. What makes me so upset is that most of the kids that graduate these days are not able to write. I have a couple of high school graduates working for me, to the point where I'm doing procedure in the hospital, and I called them up. I said, can you please draft a letter that goes to the insurance company? Now, when I come back to the office, the letter was not even drafted, and the girl came to me and said, okay, no, I couldn't write a letter. I said, excuse me? Now, you guys graduated from high school, okay? And she said, you know what? Well, we're not taught how to write letters. Most of the teaching practices that they went through was how to take tests. You know what? These kids are not going to compete outside the world. It's a shame. The future of this country is no longer in our hands. So this generation coming up, America remains one of the best countries on the planet. You got opportunity, brilliant people. The world look towards us to take the lead. But look at what's going on in the world right now. The president is under a lot of stress. America have to represent the world. And I'm asking you guys to please give me a chance. I feel that of all the candidates here, I'm better qualified. I have experience as a school teacher, I'm a father of 4, and I can't wait to get in and change the system with your help. Thank you.
Thank you. And Donna?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this debate, and thank you all for coming tonight. And for those of you who came despite the fact that it's back to school night, thank you. My name is Donna Smith. I've been a resident of South Orange for about 24 years. We've raised 3 children here, and they've gone through the school system from kindergarten through 12th grade. Our youngest just graduated. So we're now empty nesters, and I feel that I am now ready to do something that's been in the back of my mind for some time, which is to run for the Board of Ed. I'd really like to accept the challenge. I have been involved in the district for a good 16 years at PTAs in every one of the schools that my kids were in. I was also co-president of PTA President's Council and participated in the Forum for Equity and Excellence, as well as the strategic planning process and other district programs. I feel that with that experience and my leadership skills, that I am ready to take on the challenges that face the Board of Ed and the district at this time. And the challenges are huge. We have incredible turnover in the district. We have budgetary restraints that are unfathomable. And we need to address the needs of all students. One of the things that we've heard in all of the forums for the superintendent search is, my child is not being challenged enough. And we're hearing that from every parent. And so that's something that I care very deeply about. I think we need to hire good teachers. I think we need to increase professional development, especially in the area of differentiated instruction. And I think we need to evaluate the programs that we are trying to implement, make sure that they are effective and that they are addressing the needs of all children. That's what I'm all about, so thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll start with the questions. The first question is, what are the top 2 qualifications that you will be evaluating in the selection of a new superintendent. And we'll start with Maureen.
We are at a crucial point in our district because we know the new superintendent to come will really shape our district for the years to come. We need a superintendent who, one, gets us, and two, is able to say no when the board asks for too much at once. Many people move here because we are a unique and diverse district. While this diversity is the strength of our district, it is also part of the challenges. The superintendent really needs to get this district to develop a vision for excellence while having our students develop a passion for learning. Furthermore, the superintendent must demonstrate the ability to build relationships and establish trust with parents, teachers, staff, and the community so that programs and policy can be effectively implemented.
Thank you. Godwin?
Well, a new superintendent should be someone who has a leadership skill. Either could be a former school teacher, a principal, or superintendent elsewhere. This is not the time to learn on the job. Guys, so many things is happening. Our kids are not doing well. I'm not gonna wait. Okay, we need someone who has experience, who has done this job elsewhere. When he or she, okay, we need someone who has experience, who can come in and shape the way our kids are being taught. All right, our kids are the future of this country, and we should stop playing games. Okay, enough is enough. I wouldn't say upset because I'm not, but I'm so disappointed. A new superintendent is someone who is able to communicate, okay, bridge the difference between cultures. You'll be surprised. This is one of the best communities to live in, but we have so much problem. Kids come home and the teachers, the board, nobody listens to them. Parents, we send emails, you don't get a reply back. I've been to several times to middle school because my daughter came home and I said, what happened? Daddy, this and that. I said, no, what, I'll be there. Even though I do have a busy schedule. As a former school teacher, I understand. I think our teachers are doing well. The administration needs to support them. So coming in as a new superintendent should be someone who listens, have skills to handle our problems. Okay, it could be, I don't care, male, female. They must have experience before. They're not gonna come here and start learning. We don't have time to play games. So we need to, whoever comes in here must have enough skill. That skill can be verifiable, qualification can be verifiable. They need to come in and start doing the job. Time to play games. Over.
Thank you. And Donna?
I agree that we need a visionary and someone who can hit the ground running. We are facing a lot of challenges in the district. And by visionary, I don't just mean someone who has some grand idea, but actually someone who can think creatively and strategically and face all of the complex issues that we have going on in our district. We have the budget restraints that we're dealing with. We have implementation of a lot of new initiatives and programs, including Common Core, IB at the middle schools, Teach NJ and the assessments that go along with it under Achieve NJ. All of these programs and initiatives are very complex, are bringing on tremendous change. And not only that, but we also have a lot of turnover in the district where we've got a new principal and assistant principal at the high school, new principal at Jefferson School, we have a new superintendent of curriculum. All of these changes require someone who also is a good manager and who can take charge of all of these vast changes that we're experiencing now. So someone who can listen to teachers as well and understand the teaching profession, because the teachers are facing a huge amount of change as well and they need support. So we need someone who can support the teachers and understands, as I said, get us.
Thank you. And last but not least, Elizabeth?
We need a superintendent who's the total package, an educational leader with great management skills, who knows finance, someone who will listen and create a collaborative atmosphere at all levels of our district and in all of our schools. But there are two qualities that I would like us to focus on in the search. We need someone who can build and grow a leadership team and someone who will support the development of great teachers. With respect to leadership teams, it is essential that our next superintendent is someone who knows that he or she does not know everything and that he or she cannot do it alone. We're too large a district, and great teaching, great schools require collaboration and strategic coordination at every level. We also need a superintendent who is committed to professional development and the mentoring of teachers, particularly new teachers, as we are having turnover and we are having growth in our enrollment. Professional development is not something that we should be doing just a few days a year. Professional development and great teaching are something that should be woven into the fabric of every day of life in our schools. This is how we'll build capacity, this is how we'll increase consistency, and how we'll reduce anxiety both amongst teachers and parents. Thank you.
Thank you. And now for the second question, what specific steps will you take as a school board member to involve more fully parents of color and parents who are foreign born and of limited English proficiency? And we'll start with Godwin.
Thank you. If you look at the makeup of our community, there are people from different parts of the world. So multicultural training, cultural sensitivity is very important. If we understand each other's culture, trust me, we can bridge the gap. You know what that means? We can get along. We see what makes other culture different from us. We see what makes them angry, and we can be able to deal with that. So that's very important. I think administration and teachers should undergo cultural sensitivity training. Physicians, we do go. Before you get your license, the board requires you to take a test online. So why can't administration and teachers do the same? Okay? But Israel Hospital, where I do most of my procedure, you people from all over the world, and I have to deal with it. Cultural sensitivity training is very important. And you know what it does? Bridge the language barrier. A typical example is, if you look at Hispanic culture, bilingual, we need to get somebody who speaks their language. You can't send material home in English, knowing that the parents can't speak English. You know what that means? They felt very uncomfortable. The parents are no longer empowered. So we need somebody who, the school have to provide that. Somebody who the parents can pick up the phone and call and say, well, listen, my child didn't understand the homework. So they should have language line. We have them in the hospital. We have them in the hospital. Okay, so those are the stuff that needed to move things around. We have to get along. We have to educate our children. Parents and teachers have to work together. Again, of all the candidates here, with due respect, I believe that I'm best qualified to move forward. I'm coming in with almost 15 years of experience doing this, and as a physician that deals with the community every day.
Thank you.
So I need everyone to please remember this. Thank you.
Okay, and Donna?
The issue of communication in our district has been ongoing for a number of years, and I think we need to continually work on better outreach. The nice part about our community is that when there's a need that's perceived, somebody usually rises to the occasion and takes up the gauntlet and helps to make change that is for the good. And so in our community, we have the Community Coalition on Race, and we have the newly formed Parents of Students of African Descent, who formed because they saw a need for better communication and outreach to the African American community, to the community of people who do not speak the language. And I would like to keep open lines of communication with those groups. I think they often have very good recommendations, and it's important to talk to them about ways in reaching the people who are not normally attending our school functions. And we also have to consider as a board that communication can't always just go through the school venues, because some families don't get the PTA emails, don't get the school district emails, or just aren't clued into the basic run-of-the-mill kinds of communications that other parents are seeing, and therefore they're getting involved. So we need to reach out in other more creative ways. Thank you.
Thank you. And Elizabeth.
think there are several steps that we should take to welcome fully parents of color and foreign-born parents into the life of our schools. First, I agree that we need cultural competency training for all our staff and teachers. Many of us, including myself, were drawn to Maplewood and South Orange because of the diversity in our towns. But diversity presents challenges, and despite good intentions, people without training talk past one another, miss opportunities, misunderstand, and close doors. We need to make sure that our staff and teachers have the communication skills and tools to effectively work with all parents, to build trust, and to reach all kids in the classroom. I also think that it's very important that our school leaders are extra sensitive to how they enforce policies and rules in our schools. Inconsistency in how we treat one another undermines trust, undermines collaboration, and leaves many parents and families feeling left out. Finally, I would support the creation of a parent ombudsman, a person whose role it is to provide clear information, especially about children and families' rights and how the processes work. Thank you.
Thank you. And Maureen?
We have a responsibility to make all parents feel welcome in the district. It is unconscionable that we have individual education plan meetings for parents with limited English proficiency, but with no translator present. We need to fix this. We have to look at best practices in surrounding communities to see how they bring in their families who face some of the same situations we do. If we pride ourselves on being a diverse district, then it should be reflected on how we communicate with our families. Having access to information should be a priority. Translating important documents should be part of what we do as a district. When families are seeing information in their language, it makes them feel much more welcoming, and it makes them feel much more accepted, and they're much more likely to participate. When they don't receive information in their language, then it becomes much more difficult for them, and they don't join in the community. So we also want to provide a network such as parent liaison or a point person that is available and that can be used as a resource to help parents navigate the educational system. We see how hard it is already for English-speaking parents. So imagine how much more difficult it is for parents who speak another language and have to deal with cultural barriers.
Thank you. And the next question is, the 2% spending cap may require reductions in the school operating budget. What are your budgetary priorities? I'll start with Donna.
Thank you. This is probably one of the toughest questions to answer. Technically, the Board of Ed doesn't really determine the cuts to the budget, but instead determines what the tax levy will be, and the administration brings back the proposals as to the cuts. But I do have my priorities and what I would like to see in the budget, and the things that I want to maintain are high academic standards, the hiring of good teachers, increased professional development. No, I do not believe that we should transition IB into the high school at this time, especially because we have not evaluated how it's working in the middle schools, and we have not also received a report on the costs involved, which can be quite hefty. And the costs don't go away once you've implemented IB. They continue year after year after year, so it's something that really needs to be evaluated. One of the high cost drivers is, of course, special ed. We all know that, and we need to continue to try to make sure that we're delivering the right education to the students who have been identified with special needs in district whenever possible, to make the best balance of in-district and out-of-district placement. That will hopefully keep our costs down. And at the same time, we need to stress, I think, more help at the early stages where we might be able to prevent children from actually ending up being classified, that they might learn address their issues before it becomes a real problem. Thank you.
Thank you. And Elizabeth?
First and foremost, we need to grow our revenue. Many of the pressures we face and the cuts that our district has had to make in the last years, including cuts that are reaching the classroom, are the result of inadequate funding from the state. There's no quick or easy solution, and it will not happen overnight. First, we need to make sure that we are working with other districts and our political leaders to ensure that the situation doesn't get worse. We cannot take any more reductions in our state funding. Second, over the long term, we need to figure out how we're going to increase the level of funding from the state, because the 2% cap does not provide us sufficient funding stream, and it leaves us with a very heavy tax burden. Our board needs to take a leadership role in this process, educating our community, working in coalition with other districts to find both the policy solutions and creating the political will to get there. The other area where I'd like to focus is healthcare costs. Healthcare costs are the second largest expenditure in our district budget. I'm a labor lawyer, I know healthcare, I bargain over healthcare, and I'm committed to all employees having and their families having quality healthcare. But that being said, how are we spending our money? New Jersey is one of the most expensive healthcare markets in the state. Again, part of our work needs to be with other districts at the state level. The state controls the plans that we're purchasing off of, and it could be doing much more than it is to make healthcare affordable. We also need to understand the impact of the Affordable Care Act and find strategies to ensure that we're not bearing the burdens that other employers have been shirking historically. Thank you.
Thank you. Maureen?
While I'm still learning about the budget, I know that there are no easy answers. We will have to make some hard choices for the years to come. We do not have too many variables to play with. We need to keep cuts out of the classrooms, but we also need to make sure that every year we carefully manage how many teachers that we need in every grade and in every subject. We also need to avoid overly small sections of classes in regular education so that we can also avoid overly large sections in others. We also need to bring back more children from out of district in order to reduce spending cuts for out of district tuition, which really accounts for expenditures of nearly $10 million and another $2.4 million for transportation in the school year. If the district developed a strong applied behavior analysis program, we could be the district that our families want to stay in and other districts that families want to send their kids to. So to increase our revenue, we need to redouble our efforts to win more state aid, for we know that we may not change the formula this year, but that does not mean we stop advocating to get more fair distribution of state funding for our district.
Thank you. And Godwin?
Well, there's so many ways we can save money. Okay, the one that I wanted to mention is outsourcing services to outside vendors. Come on, guys, you don't need to be a scientist, you don't need to be a math teacher to know that it's very expensive. Anytime you outsource services outside the district, you take a big risk. And I can tell you from most of the hospitals where I work, I won't mention them, okay, for whatever reason, but one of these hospitals was about to close because of financial problem. You know what they did? They outsourced most of the services within the hospital to an outside vendor. Guess what? That was a disaster. Instead of saving money, we lost so much money. It takes too much time to get services. Outside vendors don't care. These people are coming in to make money. Who is running the school system? Guys, where is common sense, for God's sake? Use what we have within the system. We spend too much money in administrative position. Okay? Teachers should be paid more for, if you consider what they do. They're the one that take the stress, they're the one that take abuse and insult in the classroom. I was once a school teacher, and I can tell you this, it's not easy, and things are even getting worse. There's no guarantee that as a school teacher, you go home, you go to work, you can get home safe. There's no guarantee, okay? So many things happening these days. Kids can come to school with a gun, so we should not compromise when it comes to teachers. We should not. So we should stop outsourcing services. We should manage what we have within the system, and we can also find a way, which I know I can do because I have friends. We can find a way to get more money from the state. All right. So anything that involves compromising kids' education, I'm not gonna vote for that, and I will speak on behalf of all the teachers and parents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Okay, and now we'll go to our next question, and we'll start with with Elizabeth. What changes, I know we've discussed some of them already, but what changes would you most like to see in our school system?
Communication, communication, communication. I think we're all in agreement that our schools are too often a mystery, and we don't have dialogue between schools and parents, between districts, the district and teachers, and we really need to get to the bottom of it. Basic information about how our schools work and what resources are available have to be transparent and easy to access on the website, in the school office, coming home from your teacher in your child's backpack. And while email is a resource, we should not be solely relying on email. It's not a substitute for old-fashioned, hands-on communication. And when communication breaks down, we need to take ownership for that, learn from it, and make it better so it doesn't happen again. The recurring problems that we have with math placement letters, which I now have experienced as a middle school parent. If it wasn't so upsetting, it would almost be comic. We have a policy, we have a process. We send out letters. The letters require cross-referencing on 3 different sources of information. How decisions are made about our children should be clear, and we should be following the policies. Similarly, if you're... Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move on to Maureen.
While there may be good things happening in the district, we know we could do better. Some of the things I'd like to see in our school system is 1, teacher development and training and mentoring. We should have more ongoing mentoring and staff collaboration. New teachers should be paired with seasoned teachers so that they can get feedback and support in classroom instruction, classroom management, and curriculum. Because as new programs are being implemented and more demands are being placed on teachers, teachers need to know and be supported throughout the process so that we can figure out what's wrong, what didn't work, and how we can work out the kinks. Having consistent and ongoing constructive dialogue is really key in helping ease any anxieties, concerns that may develop. 2, we really need to streamline our special education process. There should be a dramatic improvement in what parents have to do to navigate the system, from the beginning of the initial planning meeting to the end when services are implemented, and that goes as well for the 504 process. We also need to ensure that there's consistency throughout the district. There should be more communication and coordination among teachers and administrators so that we can ensure implementation of policies are happening appropriately and effectively. This would help ensure that consistency is really happening across all grade levels and across all schools.
Thank you. Godwin?
Well, there's so many changes I would like to see in our school system. I know all of them is not going to happen, but the one that I think is going to affect the way our kids move forward is the way our kids are taught. Most of the kids are taught not to think. They teach them how to take exams. Hello? That's not going to be enough to compete on the outside world. Our kids can't compete with Asian kids. Look at spelling bee for an example. How many kids, Americans, do you see? So we need to change that system. Our kids need to be reinforced. Thinking and problem solving is very important. More emphasis should be given to teachers. Listen, I'm for teachers, I'm for kids, and I want to make sure everybody understand that, even this room. I'm here to support the parents and the teachers and to help our kids move forward. Okay? There's some communication, like she said, is very important. Communication opens doors to a lot of things, and good things happen. Problems get solved. Misunderstanding will be resolved. So there's so many changes. Spending, unnecessary spending. We need to stop that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Donna?
I was going to say, in conjunction with what you were talking about, that I believe that the Common Core will help in reducing the teaching to the test concept, and also involve more creative thinking and analytical thinking. But I also agree that we need tremendous more professional development. We need to support the teachers, especially with all the changes that they're facing right now, because now that the Common Core is coming in and the students are going to be evaluated under Parks, and the teachers themselves are being evaluated under Achieve and J, that's a tremendous amount of pressure that they're facing. So we need to support the teachers as much as possible. And so I would like to see that really increased dramatically. I also would like, one other thing that I would like to see that I haven't talked about tonight. Hey, grandson. One other thing I'd like to talk about is that I would like to see increased access to AP and honors classes at the high school. I think that we kind of go up and down in waves on this subject, but it's very important to, one, communicate to parents and students clearly what the procedures are, what the requirements are for entering into those courses, what they need to do to get there, and we also need to make sure that we're not limiting the number of classes that are available. If we have X number of students ready, they all should be able to.
For the time.
Thank you.
Florence is our very famous timekeeper. We appreciate her work. And now this is our last question, and we start with Maureen. And it is, what are your opinions, this is a three-pronged question, about tenure, public employee unions, and merit pay?
The new tenure laws really seem to strike a balance. The laws streamline the process for tenure actions, but they also preserve the teacher rights for due process. It also allows for a tenure renewal element for ongoing staff evaluations. But on the other hand, the requirement that student test scores become a direct component of a teacher's overall evaluation is really ill-informed, because it also threatens and undermines the trust needed to make observations and feedback for staff work really well. And while merit pay sounds nice in theory, it is really only demonstrated to work in the private sector. We know that the process for merit is often perceived as fair by employees when the amount is enough to get someone excited about this, to make substantial effort. And we know that a few $1,000s, which is really all the district could afford, would just as likely make employees cynical about it. So most teachers are already working full throttle. We know they're working hard, even if some of them are not as effective as others. But establishing merit pay is really likely to make them demoralized and cynical if they feel that their ability to succeed with all their students results from the ineffectiveness of the district support services and other shortcomings of how the schools are run.
Thank you. Godwin?
Tenure is a great idea for teachers, okay? Anything that protect teachers and give them right to due process, that's what I'm for. I think that's great. But again, we shouldn't take it for granted. I'm gonna stop here. Public employees, it gives these people the right, protect them for due process. It's a very good idea. Someone have to represent them, someone have to negotiate how much they get paid, contract, insurances. Merit pay in the district is a disgrace. Guess who gets them? The administrators, not the teachers. These are people who pretty much, they do nothing, and you reward them for running a failed school. Come on, guys. See, this is what I don't understand in the district. Teachers supposed to get merit pay, not the administrators. Some of the principals, for example, in a focus school, are being rewarded for running a failed institution, a failed school. And we can stand out and talk about it. It's a shame. You want to reward people, reward the teachers who are doing a good job, not administrators who are running a failed institution. So we need to look into that. And this is one of the areas where I will try to put a stop. Reward the teachers, not the administrators who sit behind the doors and pretty much do nothing. Okay? That's how we feel. Teachers need to be rewarded for merit pay and not the administrators.
Thank you. Donna?
While I agree that merit pay might be a nice idea to consider, I think that that's something that we really can't consider for a number of years until we've implemented some of the big changes that are coming right now. Teachers are facing a lot that they have to adjust to, and to have to negotiate merit pay on top of it probably would be way too much. I wanted to also note that the tenure laws that Maureen referred to not only apply to teachers, but it applies to teaching staff, and that includes principals, that includes assistant principals, that includes nurses, and assistant superintendents. So they are all subject to the new procedures for earning and keeping tenure, and I think that that law has made a very nice change for us. The tenure law is not something that we as a district can affect, but it is done at the statewide. But I think this, for once, something was really done well, and so it should help the process. And what we as a district do need to do is to make sure that our procedures are fair, are consistent, and that we are able to accept challenge and proceed with any of the tenure decisions that we do make. Thank you.
And Elizabeth?
As a labor lawyer, I know that it is possible to have effective leadership, great teaching, much hard work, and educational success in a unionized setting. Collective bargaining and employees having rights is not the enemy. However, we need to be intentional, we have to be committed to dialogue, and we have to be sophisticated in how we deal with one another. Our district seems to treat labor relations as something that happens only at contract time. Labor relations is something that is every day. It's communication, it's collaboration, it's leadership, and it's the ability to disagree civilly and to work through our disagreements. Reaching a contract is just the beginning of the next phase of our work together. We have to work at progress. We have to take on challenges throughout the contract and during negotiations. The key to successful labor relations is trust, listening to the other side's concerns, really listening, and identifying those issues of common interest. The common ground that is the starting place. Success builds on success. You find these commonalities, and you will find agreement, and you will find a path forward. I do this every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think we have a lot of food for thought, and we will start with our question and answer session. I please ask you not to make a speech, just ask your question. And if you don't feel like you have had enough time to speak, I'm sure the candidates will be here afterwards. So is there anyone with a question?
Well, as long as I'm up. Go for it.
Answer.
And so, I'd like to know where you stand on Common Core.
Well, we can have everyone or anyone who wants to respond.
Well, if you look at the definition of common core, what it entails, okay? Everyone knows that I'm a scientist, even being a physician. Common core, as we know, I'm not going to give a definition because many of you probably know more than I do. But the fact that it involves language, art, and mathematics, okay? What happened to science and technology? I'm looking at some information on that. Emphasis are paid on those two areas. I think I'm correct. If I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. I feel that, yes, ma'am.
No, we don't do the regular time.
Oh, regular time. Okay. So that's what I think. It sounds like it's a great curriculum set by the state at state level. It sounds good. But I felt that there's some area that was not included. We know that science and technology is what's going to drive this world to the brink. Okay, and math and language is great, but I think more emphasis should also be put in science and technology.
Thank you. Donna, did you have anything?
I agree that science and technology are very important, and I believe that the district is starting to focus on STEM in the classroom and working with Achieve to to have more of that kind of programming, and so we're very excited to see that happening. As far as the Common Core goes, my opinion really doesn't matter that much because it's been imposed by the state, and the state of New Jersey just reiterated that that we're going ahead full steam with Common Core. So so I think the best thing we can do is try to adjust to it and figure out how to best implement it for our district and how can we make it good for our district.
Did anyone else want to add something?
As Donna said, Common Core is state-driven. While it does focus on math and language arts, I think it helps support our kids and help them rise to the occasion. And I also think that by implementing Common Core, we need to have really trust and support our teachers to make sure that Common Core is delivered in a really effective and appropriate manner so that our kids continue to be successful.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
I think the goals of the Common Core are what we all want for our children. We don't want rote learning and memorization. We want critical thinking, and we want children who are going to launch into adult life ready not only for college, but for ready for careers and for active citizenship. That being said, it's incumbent on our district to develop the methodology to actually achieve the Common Core and to achieve those goals. One large step that we've taken is the IB program in the middle schools. As a parent going through the first wave of IB with my now 7th grader, it's a process, but I've been very impressed. I just came from back to school night at Maplewood Middle School and learned about how my child, is participating in a Socratic seminar in her social studies class, how she's going to be writing every week. And the teacher says, you're going to crash and burn the first couple of weeks, but you're going to get better. But you're going to take a chance. You're going to discuss with your peers. You're going to analyze others' discussions, and you're going to write. And you're going to be ready to go into the world. I think that's what we want for our kids, and the question is, what can we be doing to keep getting there? Thank you.
Gus?
Yeah, I've been going to school board meetings for nigh on 50 years, and I was talking with Oka about the fact that I hear the same thing, the same concerns. And I think what I have is, what are you going to do to establish the direct relationship with the community? How is your office going to be open to the people who have concerns? We have some very fine examples in our township committee and things like that, how they relate. And I think that is really a key factor in dealing with a lot of these issues.
Okay, let's hear what the candidates have to say. Well, let's start with someone else. We started with you last. Donna, do you have something to say?
Thank you. Yes, I do have something to say. I think that we need to, if I get onto the board, I would like to help develop more outreach to the community, not just to the schools, but also to the general community as a whole. And that means not just communicating through the schools and the PTAs, but also through neighborhood associations, other venues. I also would like to bring back a practice that I believe existed in the past, where board members kind of divvied up functions that they would attend, and so that we made sure that they were out there in the community, people saw them, people knew who the Board of Ed members were and what they were doing, and then they were very much more approachable. People could talk to them about what their concerns were. I would like to see more of that kind of activity. I think it's important. And clearly from the expressions we've been hearing in the superintendent's search for, the lack of communication is one of the biggest issues that we are facing, and we really need to address it. I know we've been talking about that for years, and it's just got to stop. We really have to work on that now.
Well, I'm sort of going around, so we'll get to you. Donna, thank you.
Elizabeth?
I mean Elizabeth. I've attached Donna to my brain.
My mother still calls me Megan or Amy, so. I think there are a number of steps that the board can and should be taking. First, I think the example of the Maplewood Township office hours is a good example to follow. Board members can and should have office hours where parents, teachers, other stakeholders can come in and discuss a concern and to share information. Second, I think at one point in time, board members were assigned to be specific liaisons to a school. I think that's very important, that a specific board member be a point of contact for a school community, meet with the teachers, meet with the parents, be present at school events, see what's actually happening in the day-to-day life of the school. And there's one seemingly small thing that I think would make a huge difference. When members of our community send an email to the Board of Education, to the BOE members at SOMSD, we often don't get anything more than the auto reply that we've sent an email and that it made it somewhere to somebody. There has to be a policy of making sure that there's a response to every written communication, whether it's email or writing, that you know that what you've tried to communicate to the board has been heard and that someone is following up. It won't necessarily be a board member, because not every board member, the board members are not running the schools, but the board members can make sure that whatever question or concern you have is heard and that somebody's responding to you. Thank you.
Maureen?
It really boils down to communication and outreach. As board members, I think it's really important to have a presence in the community, to have yourself be known and to reach out to the different schools, as the other board members, candidates said. Being a presence in the schools allows the community to know that you are interested and you really want to make a connection and put a face with who the board members are. Sometimes people may not even know the names of board members, so to have that connection is really important. It's also, as Elizabeth said, I join her in saying that responding to emails and phone calls is key. We hear sometimes parents saying that they have made a phone call or sent an email and responses haven't been received. So we need to get past that, and we need to let families know that we hear them, we respond to them, and we want to work with you. Because all it takes is for that one email to not be respond, and it changes the ball game. So that's really important.
Godwin?
Guys, I will do the same thing I did in my medical practice for the past 20 years. You have access to me. You can call my office, a website where you can reach me. You have my email, you have my cell phone. Okay, all my patients call me on my cell phone. There's nothing wrong with that. In the evening, I will devote time to return to everyone's call. Okay, I'll be on your face. I'll be in front of the school district. You see me everywhere. We have to change the way business is done. Enough is enough. Newsletter must go out. Parents should be able to reach us. We are not God, we are human beings. I will be in front of the administrator and I will tell them, some of them know who I am anyway. I'll be right in front of them, and you need to respond. Okay, you need to listen to the parents. All right, their kids are involved in the school system. Many of us have successful practice, and I'm one of them because of the same system. Guess what? 3 to 4 hours in the evening, 3 times a week, I'm in my office returning calls to patient. Patient calls me straight on my cell phone. There's nothing wrong with that, so I guarantee you, and I'll tell you this, you have my cell phone, you can email me. I have 2 emails, and I'll give it to you. You call me anytime you want, okay? And I guarantee you that things will happen. I'm not afraid to confront administration. I'm not afraid to tell them, listen, business as usual is no longer be allowed in this district. Things need to be changed, and I promise you, I'll bring the change. Just give me a chance, guys. Give me a chance. It's gonna happen. Good things are coming to us, and we're gonna be smiling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, what is your plan to improve or, actually improve meals at schools?
What is your plan to improve meals at schools, in case anyone didn't
Obesity,
hear?
it's really high. I have a high school student, daughter in high school, and she was telling me water, so even to buy a bottle of water, it's so expensive. The water fountains are not even working correctly. They're dirty and everything. So what is the plan here?
Well,
without
so
causing
we're
a
sort of
burden
we're
on the
going
full set of
around.
workers.
So I think it's Elizabeth's turn, or is it Maureen? Okay.
Well, I think we really need to look at our meal plans and see how we're using them and what kind of pricing that we're using for our kids. I think the district tries to do a really good job to offer reduced free lunches for kids. It's also important that we make sure that the foods that are provided are as nutritious as possible for the kids. It's not always an easy road in that respect, and we want to just make sure that all foods and meals are provided throughout all the schools so that kids can have access to them and provided in the right way.
First of all, I'm a physician. I did nutrition in school as part of my training. We need to review the menu to find out where this food comes from, who prepared them, how much carbohydrate, how much fat is in the food. I tell you what, I will have breakfast with the kids. I will have lunch with them. I'm gonna test this proof. I will sit down, and if I don't like what I get, I'm gonna speak up. I say, you know what, I need to know who, if I have to go to the kitchen where this food is cooked, I'll be there. I promise you, I will be there. And if we have to sit down and have a new committee that we change the menu. My kids, my daughter don't even like to eat food in school. I said, she said, Daddy, I'll take food home. I said, what is the problem? The food stinks. Could you believe that? A 12-year-old preferred to take food home from school. I said, listen, try some of that good food. I said, can I bring you lunch? Well, yes, you can. Things is going to change. Because if if I have to sit down and have breakfast with the children, I'll be there and have breakfast with them. Too much carbohydrate, too much sugary stuff needs to stop. It's not healthy for our kids. We have power to demand changes, okay? And when we collectively come together, changes take place. I guarantee you got the power, and it's going to happen if you elect me. Thank you.
Well, it's my understanding that we did make some changes a few years ago to the nutritional needs of the students in the schools, but I have to confess that I have not eaten there, so I don't really know how it's been playing out recently. And my children ate the school lunches through middle school, and then after that they didn't, but that was more just a matter of wanting to socialize with their friends. So I can't say what I would do exactly, but I would like to find out more about if they really are overly priced, or if the nutritional value has gone down, because I thought that we had been doing a good job of increasing the nutritional value, and so I would like to learn more.
Elizabeth.
Just don't call me Megan.
You look like
It's an Irish family.
So, I want to pick up on a point that Godwin made earlier, and that's subcontracting. We've outsourced many core services of our district, but do we really have a system in place to make sure that we are managing our subcontractors, in this case the food service contractor, and that when we award a contract, that we're actually getting maximum value, in this case nutritional value, for our dollar and for our children? As a parent, I'm concerned about the food in the elementary school and the middle school. I haven't reached the high school yet. My children, most days, are not interested in buying lunch at school unless they can use their snack account to buy chips or the sugar water, which is now sold at my elementary school. I don't understand that as a parent, and I'd really like to have that choice explained to me. I think we need, again, to understand what the relationship between our food service director, our educational leaders, and the subcontractors, and where we can identify best practices in other districts, because certainly there are other districts that are promoting healthy eating that's consistent with the physical education curriculum. I think we need to look at what those districts are doing, and when we have examples of success within our district, such as the schools that are participating in the CATCH program, we need to build on that success, and we need to make sure that all the children in our district have that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question? Yes.
At the parent meeting over the weekend, they were describing the perfect superintendent. And one of the last responses was, well, does this person even exist? And then someone said, well, yes, this person exists, but we may not have whatever, the money it costs to pay that person. And then someone else suggested that the superintendent get bonuses beyond what's capped, and maybe even a housing allowance. I'd like to, know what any of you candidates think about that idea.
You can't do that.
You don't have to pay. Go ahead.
That's illegal to give a housing allowance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I disagree. That's my answer.
Anyone else have a response?
Well, I think that we have to compensate our leaders wisely, and we should make sure that we are not engaging in the excessive compensation that we've seen in other, in other types of entities. The salary cap has had a very destabilizing effect in our district and districts across the state of New Jersey. So I don't think we should be engaging in compensation package gimmicks. I think what we should be doing is working with other districts and with our leaders, because I think there is now growing consensus that this salary cap has driven out good leaders and has left many districts with their hands tied as they try and find leadership. I think we need to work with other districts and our leaders to have the cap repealed. We should have good standards for executive compensation. That's good in the for-profit world, it's good in the nonprofit world, and it's essential in the public sector. But to have this wooden cap that leaves us with a vacuum, and many other districts have a vacuum, and districts that are, for prolonged periods with interim superintendents is really unacceptable. Thank you.
Also, just this week, the New Jersey legislature, the Education Committee, had a hearing on the question of the cap because it is due to expire, and the question is whether it will be extended or not. So hopefully the people who spoke at the hearing emphasized what Elizabeth is talking about, because it really has hurt us and other districts. The idea was a good one to limit the excessive spending, but unfortunately it went too far.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Yes.
If you ask anyone that lives in South Orange and Maplewood, one of the things they will tell you, I moved to South Orange and Maplewood for diversity. We keep touting diversity over and over and over, and that's excellent. However, when you go to Columbia High School appears to be a segregated school. And this is my question to all of the candidates. Are you all going to seriously do anything about levels at Columbia High School where in the lower levels is predominantly kids of color and in the higher levels are other kids? It's been a serious problem, and we tout diversity. But when we talk about AP classes, honors classes, and level 3 and lower, it's a different thing. And that's my question.
Okay. Now I've lost whose turn it is, but anyway, do you want to say?
This has been an ongoing problem, as everyone in the room knows. And I listened to the Superintendent Search Forum on Saturday, where there were participants from the CCR and parents of students of African descent talking about their struggles, and the struggles of people who are less well-informed than they are in navigating the school system. And one of the things that was sort of a common theme that also was expressed in some of the other search fora that didn't have to do with race was that we have low expectations for a number of our students. That somehow the expectations for African American children are not high enough. We're not challenging students across the board, from the struggling level 2s all the way up. And we need to face that and make a change. We need to be challenging every student and allowing them access to higher levels when they are successful, when they have been challenged and they are successful with that challenge, then they should be able to move up. And so our expectations of all of the children should be always at a high level. And that's also why I think that access to APs and honor courses should be more open. If it's a scheduling problem, let's fix it. If it's the fact that we only have one class in a particular AP course and there are more kids who qualified for it but there's not room, then open up another class. I mean, we just have to do this. We cannot afford to go on like this. Thank you.
The minute a student walks into the classroom, it is that teacher's responsibility to recognize that individual and their successes and what they're capable of achieving. And it starts in the classroom. But not only along with that, there needs to be expectation sets for all our kids to make sure that they rise to the occasion. It's really important that we set standards and that we help support our kids to get that. And I piggyback on what Donna said, that access to AP and honors classes for African American students is really important and is key. And teachers need to recognize the kids and really provide the support, the encouragement to make sure that they are succeeding, and really be a supporter, a champion for them to make sure that they are succeeding in those classes and not just letting them sit idle. If they're struggling, provide services, provide support for after school, encourage them to go further than just having them settle for what's less. We know that when expectations are placed on kids, they rise to the occasion. So it is the responsibility of teachers that they ensure that they do that on a daily basis so that it continues to happen and access is made available to all kids.
Well, the question is, do you want to, you have 20 kids in your classroom, 15 of them are doing so well, they are considered advanced, and 10 or 5 are not doing well. Do you really want to have all these kids in one class? Some of them will be distracted. The kids who are doing well will be bored and start acting up. The question is, no. All right, so those kids who are not doing well, the school system owes them responsibility to provide extra help to them. Group studying, we have them in medical school. In medical school, there were kids who are considered slow by their friends. You know, kids can be a little nasty among each other, but guess what? There's after-school program for these kids. In medical school, there's no level in this country. Everybody's, so if you're having a problem, there's someone out there to help you. I think help should be given to those kids who are not doing well, okay? And kids can be nasty to each other. Well, I'm in level 4, you're in level 3, you seem like you're retarded. Come on, that's not retardation. I know what retardation is from a medical standpoint. But kids who are not doing well, we should provide help. That's all I ask. Provide help for them. After school, a couple of hours after school. As a matter of fact, guess what? You know, some of you don't know what I do. I'm one of the doctors without borders. I do go to foreign countries, and I can tell you I'll be leaving October 25th. I won't be around. I'll be gone for 2 weeks, providing help in a foreign country. I've been doing this for the past 5 years. You see how blessed we are in this country. And every time I come back, I tell my wife, I'm a different person. I say, you know what? I think I'm going to go back to teaching. She said, why? I said, because I can change things. So leveling or no leveling, group study or not, we need to provide assistance to our children and stop getting confused doing what's around. Please, our kids need help. That's what we pay taxes for. We need to educate these children. Thank you.
Elizabeth, did you want to add anything?
Thank you. I would like to echo Maureen's thoughts about providing access, opportunity, and rigor, and that children will rise and meet the challenge. No child in our district should feel that they're on a pathway to nowhere. And when children are stuck in level 2 classes or level 3 classes, and they're told even if they do well in those classes, there's no room in the next level. Or you have to take a test, and we'll see if you're good enough to get into the next level. That's unacceptable. And I think even the children, having been to many of the superintendent forums myself and heard many of our successful Columbia students talk about their experience, they are pained that even if they're having a good experience and they're having opportunity, that they see their classmates having less opportunity. And they don't feel that it's fair, they don't feel it's equal, and they understand that it's corrosive, both within their school and within our community. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question, if there's anyone who has one. Okay. Well, first of all, of course, we want to thank our candidates, and I feel so, as a retired school teacher myself, I feel so thrilled that we have such thoughtful, intelligent, caring people up here. So thank you very much. And I do have a closing statement, which I almost forgot about. So let's see, whose turn is it? I think it's actually.
Gentlemen,
I don't think I've explained myself
You won't
enough.
have to.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm so excited this evening. Some of you probably noticed that. I just can't wait to be a part of this change. I'm a candidate of change. I'm an outsider. Many of you probably can tell. I feel that we have to do things, guys, and I need your help. We need to move forward. The fact that things are done the way it was done in the past is no longer acceptable. Parents, please rise up for change. Our kids need to do better. Please, when eventually many of us in this room will retire, I'm looking at myself 15, 20 more years with the medicine. I'll be done. But then what am I going to do? I'm looking at my son. My oldest is 17 years old now. I say, son, you know what? I'm worried about your future. He said, what do you mean? I said, because my future was better than yours. I said, even if you become a doctor, you're going to find it difficult to support your family. Things are changing. We need to educate our kids more. We need to stop playing games with our tax money. We need to put more emphasis in thinking. Our kids need to think. Because guess what? Many of them will leave this country and go to foreign country. We are so blessed. We're Americans. Wherever we go, you show that passport, everybody looks on you, upon you to lead. And if you can't lead, if you don't have the knowledge, you'll be surprised when we go to foreign countries, American doctors. That's what they call us. People travel 6 miles, 12 hours waiting for us. We put hours. I tell you what, the indigents will leave at 4 o'clock. American doctors will work till 3 o'clock in the morning. And guess what? 6 a.m. we are up. Okay? So this is the best country. But I'm not sure what's going to happen 15 years from now. So I need your help. We need to rise up for change. Thank you.
Donna?
Thank you so much for letting us participate in this discussion tonight. I think we've heard a lot of good ideas. One thing that I addressed briefly a few times, but would like to expand upon a little bit is I really am concerned about addressing the needs of all students of the district, and I think some of the ways of doing that are much better professional development in differentiated instruction, particularly at the middle school level where we have D-level. And although it's not completely D-level, there's a lot of D-leveling. And if we're doing a disservice to the students and the teachers, if we don't give the teachers the toolkit for reaching out to each level of student in those classes, and that ranges from the struggling learners to the high achievers and possibly the gifted and talented. And the same thing goes for a gifted and talented program. What it involves, a good program involves giving teachers the tools to be able to say, this child needs this kind of instruction for this lesson, whereas this other child needs something completely different. And understanding and recognizing those differences and being able to teach all of them so that they are all progressively learning, I think that will also help leading into the high school where they're faced with having to try to get into honors and AP classes. So we need to make that foundation better. IB is one thing, but that doesn't give the teachers everything they need. And so that's what I really would like to push for if I make it onto the Board of Ed. And once again, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
I'd like to thank all of you again for coming tonight and for giving us the opportunity to meet you and hear your concerns. I'm a person who works hard to understand and to overcome obstacles. In my children's schools, I've worked hard to make our schools more transparent and welcoming to all parents and to expand the resources, including the technology resources that we have available to create great learning environments. As our budgets have grown tighter, I got involved in the budget process to understand the financial constraints, the lack of funding that we have from the state level, the decisions that we have to make, and how we go about making those decisions. While the challenges that we face are exacerbated by a lack of funding, I believe we can be more transparent, and I believe we can be more coordinated and effective in how we spend every dollar to make sure we're extracting the maximum educational benefit for our kids. As an advocate for working people, everyday people, I have learned how to reach across the aisle, not just to call for change, but to actually work with people, even people who disagree, sometimes strongly, with me or with one another. We have to find the common ground, and we have to make a plan to move forward. No one board member has all the answers, and no one board member can solve all the challenges facing our district. But I do believe individual people can make a difference if we get involved, and I believe that our community can accomplish great things if we work together, if we listen, if we actually develop a plan and stay focused on creating great teaching, great learning environments for all of our kids. As a district, we need to choose the right superintendent, and that's the role of the that'll be a decision of the next board. But choosing the next superintendent is just the beginning of our collective work. I ask for your support in the November election because I want to put my experience as an advocate, my experience as a parent, and my ability to make change happen to work for our schools and for our district and our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Maureen?
I have sat in a classroom where I didn't understand the language. I've taught children who don't understand how to communicate, and I've also helped families understand how to help children succeed and have reached families to be part of the school community. Improvement in our schools should be something we do with our teachers and not to our teachers. What I bring to the board is how successful change happens because I've worked in a school. We have to manage spending wisely, make more budget transparency, and be efficient and effective stewards of our tax dollars. We also need to enable our teachers to succeed. We have to make parents full partners in their children's education, and we have to make communication and listening part of everything we do. And we have to ensure that no child is bored, that they encounter rigor, challenge, and opportunity in every classroom. I've seen districts do this. It is possible to do this, even though it is not easy, and I know South Orange Maplewood School District can do it. I ask for your vote on November 4th so I can be one of the 9 members of the Board of Education to help make things happen. Thank you.
Well, this concludes our forum for tonight. I hope that you've all will come away with some things to think about. The election again is November 4th, and I hope that if you have a particular question that has gone unanswered, that you'll speak with some of our candidates individually. We have some refreshments.